Alright. Welcome to Blue Pill Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. Today is August 1st. So, we're already in August. August, September, January, February, July, August. So, is next month fall already? This year has flown by. At least in my opinion, I feel like it's flown by. It has been a crazy year. In my personal life, it's been nuts. You know, had a car breakdown, changed jobs. Yeah, it's been a wild year. And in conspiracy, if you don't know, this is Blue Pill Podcast. I do have another podcast, Conspiracy Corner Podcast. I do apologize for not putting out as much on the Conspiracy Corner, but here lately, I've just been kind of in a blue pill mood. Been kind of nerding out with some Zelda stuff. Which today's going to be a Zelda episode. I have, I think, 2 more Zelda episodes planned. Well, I have multiple Zelda episodes planned. I'm still... Right now, I got Link's Awakening, the Game Boy version, the gray cart. It's in... a computer store right now, getting the save battery fixed. I will be playing through it, beat it, and review it. I do have multiple other little Zelda history episodes like today that I'm going to be covering. Playing through the second quest of Zelda 1. Once I beat it, I'm going to review it. And then after that, I'm gonna start playing the DS Zelda games. You know, possibly. I still have some other games that I want to play for Game Boy Advance, but I don't know. There's going to be game reviews, you know. I might delve into some Final Fantasy stuff, which is my favorite game series. I don't know. Final Fantasy has kind of taken a second place right now. Sometimes my favorites kind of switch, you know. Last year, my favorites were like Grand Theft Auto. The year before that, I was really into Zelda. I kind of got back into Zelda, so we shall see. My favorites kind of change. But as far as the update, I'm off today. Shaker Town, Shaker Village. I've talked about it in passing on this channel. They are doing a craft fair today and tomorrow, but we're supposed to get thunderstorms today. So, I don't know. I may end up just staying home and doing some chores around the house and relaxing and possibly doing some more podcasts today. I got up a little early. I had my alarm set for 8:40 because I have to go to the bank later today, or early this morning, and cash my check. Yesterday was payday. But, yeah. I got a bunch of stuff around the house I need to do. So I may just... Who knows? And also, 127 yard sales is going on. I do like to do it. It's this gigantic yard sale on 127, the highway. I usually like to do it when I can. And with this new job, I'm actually off on weekends and I'm not working third shift anymore. I actually have a life again. I may do that either today or tomorrow, just depending on the weather. So hopefully I have a fun, good weekend. Either way, whether I'm relaxing or going out and having fun, it's going to be a good weekend, you know. But yeah, let's get on with the show. So while I've been on my little Zelda adventures with the Game Boy Advance, I usually, anytime I'm playing a game, I don't know if I'm the only one who does this. Hit me up in the comments if you do the same thing. Um, I usually like to put on related videos to whatever game I'm playing. So if I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, you know, on my Game Boy, uh, I will put on like on the background. I'll put on like Grand Theft Auto history store, like retrospective videos or the history of Grand Theft Auto. You know, I don't know. I just like doing it, like matching it up. So while I've been playing these Zeldas, I've been putting on Zelda videos, and a lot of them are like history of Zelda, retrospectives, um, just weird little fun nuggets of information. And I came across one that I found very intriguing. Let me plug my Buy Me a Coffee real quick. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you donate to the channel, it helps me pay bills. I will send you a Conspiracy Corner podcast bookmark, and I will sign the back of it. Unless you don't want me to, you can message me through Buy Me a Coffee. And it's a free bookmark. It's through snail mail. It helps pay for the channel, and it helps me get ahead in life, you know. Because podcasting, a lot of people don't realize, but you actually end up spending quite a bit of money podcasting, you know. That's why I tell people, if you're not podcasting for fun, don't even do it. Because unless you're super famous and your podcast blows up, you're going to be spending a lot of money. But, so I'm a big fan of the Great Gatsby movie. I have a copy of the book, and honestly, the book is not even that thick. It's like this thick. You could honestly probably read the entire book in one sitting. And I keep saying, like, I keep beating myself up. Like, the cover art's beautiful for it. And I know the actual story from watching the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. By the way, that movie is awesome. You need to go check it out. Maybe the next time I watch it, I'll do a Conspiracy Cinema review on it. But, I need to sit down and just read it. Because honestly, you could read it in one sitting, probably. The story is awesome. I love that era of American history. I feel like personally, if I was a time traveler, or if I had to choose like being born in an era, that era would be an awesome time to be born in. You know, you have like the whole flappers. Everybody was drinking and smoking, which I love doing. The cars were cool. The clothing style was cool. The women were all beautiful with the little bob cuts. I love the whole fedora and suits and driving around in the little roadsters and shit. The Great Gatsby is a beautiful story. And I first got intrigued by The Great Gatsby. I'm a huge fan of Hunter S. Thompson. And I know if you're a Conspiracy Corner listener, I already know his backstory. I can separate the art from the artist. I already know about the snuff film and the fucking, what was he tied in with, some weird sex ring that was like predated Pizzagate that was like just as bad, but it was like the Republicans doing it and not the Democrats way back in the day. Anyways, there was this book that he wrote, Hunter S. Thompson, called The Proud Highway. And he was obsessed with F. Scott Fitzgerald and The Great Gatsby. It was his favorite book. He said it was the great American novel, and that he wanted to write the next great American novel, and he always wanted to write the next Great Gatsby, which later became Rum Diary, which he tried to get published tons of times. It didn't get published until after his death. They shortened a lot of it. It became a movie with Johnny Depp, which, by the way, that's a really good movie, too. It's not Fear and Loathing, but it's still a really good book. It's a romance novel. There is still some wild craziness in it, but it's just not as crazy as Fear and Loathing or Hell's Angels. But he'd talked about it tons of time in this book called The Proud Highway. And so I don't know, I've always been intrigued by The Great Gatsby. I love the movie, like I said, I love the story. I just need to read it. And apparently I am not the only one who is intrigued by The Great Gatsby and Scott Fitzgerald. But we're going to get into, where did Zelda get her name? So, was The Legend of Zelda actually named after its heroine? This is an article. Believe me, I totally get how the premise of this post sounds. Everyone knows that the Legend of Zelda series was named after the game's heroine. But what this post presupposes is maybe it wasn't. And it actually wasn't. If you get into the history, this is true. What we're going to get into. So, and while it seems like pseudo-intellectual wankery to ask a question like the one in the headline of this post, they must be like Irish or English, because wanker. I use wanker. Me and my brother. I swear there's something here that's not just worth interrogating, but also that fits with what I've been doing with this blog as of late. Basically, I've been revisiting things that, quote-unquote, everybody knows, in an effort to point out that the thing we all allegedly know might not exactly be accurate. It's what I did with my piece on the origin of Dalsim's name. I don't know who that is, so she must just be, like, writing a series of origin of, like, people's names and stuff into a worthwhile effect. I should point out, as it resulted in the solution to that mystery, but also into one of why Donkey Kong throws barrels. Oh, okay, so they're doing, like, she does, like, history articles connected with video games, it sounds like. And the one about why Final Fantasy Tactics has 2 characters named after Beowulf. Okay, that's cool. I love Final Fantasy. Like I said, it used to be my favorite game series. It may still be. I need to go back and replay some of them or play some newer ones. And silly though it might seem, this post might actually have solved a long-standing question that I have about why the Legend of Zelda series is called what it is. So first of all, the actual Legend of Zelda, not the first game, but quote-unquote the Legend of Zelda, is a legend that is told, and it's actually told in the manual of Zelda 2 of the sleeping princess and the jealous brother. In the first 2 games, which are a continuation, Zelda 2 is a continuation of Zelda 1. It's the same Link. It's a sequel. There's actually 2 Zeldas, and it kind of explains the Legend of Zelda. Impa tells Link the Legend of Zelda. It's basically inspired by Sleeping Beauty, which we might do a whole episode on that. So, the accepted origin for the Princess Zelda's name is that the series creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, named her after Zelda Sayer Fitzgerald, the artist's wife of writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's come up in multiple interviews, including this 2001 promoting Majora's Mask. And while I'm willing to agree that the Zelda Fitzgerald story is essentially true, there are some Miyamoto interviews where the chain of events that lead to the series' name are stated slightly differently. By the way, you find this a lot, whether it be Nintendo Power Magazine's old interviews, or with the Zelda creators. I don't know if they do it on purpose, but they will backtrack on things they say, contradict things that they said in older interviews. There's a very big air around the Legend of Zelda series and the creators, and even they disagree on, like, timelines and history. You'll have some people that say Link to the Past is before Zelda 1 and 2, and then you have some that say no, it's after. That's why the towns are built up. You know, it's interesting to watch people argue with each other. The creators, they don't even agree on what Zelda is, and I think someone summed it up best the other day. That's why they call it the Legend of Zelda, because it's a legend, and legends get passed down. Here's one of the kitties, 007. He's bugging me this morning. He's a puppy. He's a little one. But it's a legend, so it's not going to be super big on detail. There's going to be an air of mystery around it, and it makes sense when you look at it that way. So, and I'm willing to agree that the Zelda Fitzgerald story is essentially true. There are some Miyamoto interviews where the chain of events that lead to the series name are stated slightly different. For example, in the January 1999 issue of the Japanese gaming mag 64 Dream, later Nintendo Dream, features interviews with creators of Ocarina of Time, and as far as I know, it's the first instance of Miyamoto explaining on the record how the series got its name. Here's from clip from the article. Here's an actual image of the article, the magazine. I don't know if this is but that's kind of cool. I actually have some like Japanese newspaper. We ordered something and they filled it with a bunch of Japanese or Korean newspaper, and I just kept it just because it was like, ooh, look. It's so weird. I'm weird, I know. From the get-go, we wanted the title to be The Legend of Something Something, and consulted a songwriter. Then there's this famous author named Fitzgerald, who was married to a beautiful woman named Zelda. We thought it was cool. It was a cool name, and it is a cool name. By the way, so we're gonna do like a whole episode on the inspiration for Link, tying in with Peter Pan. But there's also some weird synchronicities with Robin Williams, out of all the people on this planet, you know. And he was actually a huge Zelda fan. He named his daughter Zelda. Out there is a Zelda Williams. And it's actually kind of crazy, because that was one of the names that I almost named my daughter. I had several names picked out. I wanted one to be Storm, another one Rain, ISIS was a thought. This was before the terrorist organization. I wanted to name her after like the Egyptian goddess. And then I kid you not, Zelda was on the list. I wanted to possibly name my daughter Zelda. And Robin Williams named his daughter Zelda Williams. My last name is Williams, so it would have been so fucking weird, like her name would be Zelda Williams, you know. I don't know, just synchronicities abound, you know. But yeah, he named his daughter Zelda. It's a rare name, and there's also an actress named Zelda. She played in one of the Poltergeist movies. She's like this little person, and she talks like this, like all creepy and stuff. She's a cool actress. I seen her in tons of movies. So we asked if we could do so, and got the okay. That's how we ended up with The Legend of Zelda. There isn't really any special meaning behind the name Zelda. I disagree, because naming it after F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife is to me, pretty cool. So notice how he doesn't mention any princess at all, just the name of the series. He'd recall it slightly differently for a 2011's Hyrule Historia. I need to get a copy of this book. I was actually talking to another content creator, Mirror D80s, in the comment section of my last Zelda video. It was called Link is a Christian. Go check that out. I'll link it down below in Spotify as related episodes. You get to choose 2 episodes to link to your, well, link to your episode you're putting out. And by the way, if you're listening on Spotify, go find me on YouTube and subscribe. It's just Conspiracy Corner Podcast. You can find all the Blue Pill stuff on there. Because I don't put out as many Blue Pill as I do Conspiracy Corner, so I just put it out on one. There's a Zelda playlist. So if you're interested in these Zelda episodes, whether on YouTube or Spotify, on YouTube there's a Zelda playlist with all my Zelda episodes, which keep growing in number. But I had mentioned it. What did I mention? Now I lost my train of thought. Oh, we were talking in the comment section, me and this other content creator, Mirror D80. Shout outs to him. Go check his channel out. I did 2 interviews with him. It's pretty dope. We did like 5 hours worth of talking between the 2 interviews, and more off the camera and off the mic. We still kept talking. I was like, dude, we should have just kept it rolling. He had talked about, there's this book called The Hyrule Historia with like the set in stone. I guess all the creators were just like, okay, we need to set this in stone. Here's the facts. Here's the history. Because throughout the years, we've been arguing with each other. We've been disagreeing with each other. We're confusing the fuck out of the fan base, you know? So finally, they're just like, yeah, let's just get this set in stone. The hardbound celebration of the Legend of Zelda lore that Nintendo put out to promote Skyward Sword. The idea is coming from a PR person now, but it's the same basic origin story, just with the suggestion being attached explicitly to both the series title and the princess. Of course, the title of the game wasn't decided right at the beginning. I knew I wanted it to be The Legend of Something, but I had a hard time figuring out what the something was going to be. That's when the PR planner said, why don't you make a storybook for this game? He suggested an illustrated story where Link rescues a princess who is a timeless beauty with classic appeal, and mentioned there's a famous American author whose wife's name is Zelda. How about giving that name to this eternal beauty? I could really get behind the book idea, but I really liked the name Zelda. I asked him if I could use it, and he said that that would be fine, and that's where the title, The Legend of Zelda, was born. And you can definitely see the storybook aspect. And I thought of it when I was a little kid, like whenever my brothers would be playing it, I was like in kindergarten, so... And even before kindergarten, I remember watching my brothers play Zelda. And it was kind of sweet, because like the game was too hard for me to play. I would attempt it and just die immediately. But I loved watching them play it. Like, I used to call Link Peter Pan. You know, I was like, oh, you're going to play Peter Pan? You know, and they're like, his name's Link. But they would say he is inspired by Peter Pan. So, like, you know, because I don't know, I just seen a little green elf and fairies, and I'm like, oh, Peter Pan, you know, because I grew up watching Peter Pan. But the storybook aspect, like, I remember them having the booklets for Zelda 1 and 2 and Zelda 3, and I remember being a little kid and asking, like, my brother Brandon, the older brother to me, hey, can you read me Zelda? Because there's like 2 or 3 pages worth of story in the beginning of every manual, because where the game lacks in storyline, you kind of needed the manual to know the story. And you can look that shit up online now that we have this beautiful thing called the internet, but back in the day, little kids would just throw the box and the book away. We were such fools back then. But I just remember, like, laying down on the bed and him reading it to me and showing me the pictures, like reading me a storybook. And it felt like a fairy tale, you know? It was cool. So yeah, the way Miyamoto recalls the process in both of these accounts is that he needed a name for this fantasy adventure series. He had a vague idea of what kind of name would fit, and when he heard Zelda Fitzgerald's name, something clicked. This long-dead wife of a famous novelist had a name that approximated the grandeur and mystery that he wanted his forthcoming video game to have. And in the end, it was given to the heroine of the story as well as the story itself. So what Miyamoto doesn't say is that he always intended the game to be named for its damsel in distress. The fact that the series is named for a character who plays a fairly minor role in most of the early installments has always struck me as odd. And notably, I am not alone in this. Like, really? Why should The Legend of Zelda be named for a character who generally only shows up at the end of the game? Quit. 007, quit. Damn, you messed me up. And notably, I am not alone in this. Like, really? Why should The Legend of Zelda be, okay, who only shows up at the end of the game? I'm thinking that this wasn't the case, not technically. Princess Zelda is named after the series and not the other way around. And that distinction might seem trivial, but I think it actually answers this lingering question as well as a few more. See, and I honestly, I used to, way back in the day, like I said, and this kind of goes back to my previous comments of how people used to throw away the box and the book. And even as little kids, if you have a child or if you remember your childhood, the majority of little children, I need to stop calling them kids. That's a baby goat, and that's satanic as fuck. I tried to get myself to I tried to eliminate the word hate from my dictionary, but I've tried to retrain myself to call them children. We're destructive little creatures when we're children, and we either lose the book and box, or it gets smashed, or it gets thrown away. Or we just are so eager to play the game we don't even read the story at the beginning of the book, of the manual, you know. There was always, I remember growing up in the 90s, there was always that argument of oh, the main character's name is Zelda. You know, a lot of people thought Link's name was Zelda. You know, and you could name your character Zelda, and it would unlock the second quest in the first game. A lot of people didn't know that was actually screwing you over, because the second quest, which I'm currently playing now, is 10 times harder than the first quest. So as little kids, we were just screwing ourselves, not knowing it. Hey, watch this. If you name Link Zelda, it unlocks a totally different game, you know? And it's yeah, that's the second quest, and it's hard as fuck. You're screwing yourself. You haven't even beat the first quest, you little fool. So yeah, let's get into a little bit of... This is Zelda Fitzgerald, by the way. This is what she looks like. This is the real Zelda. And I believe she was an author, too. Zelda Fitzgerald, she was born July 24th, 1900, and she died on March 10th, 1948. She was an American novelist, so she wrote, too. Sadly, it sounds like she was in the shadow of her husband, F. Scott. She was a painter, a writer, and a socialite. Born in Montgomery, Alabama. So there you go. There's the word, that Daisy, that the female character of Great Gatsby, where she's a Southern girl. To a wealthy Southern family, she became locally famous for her beauty and high spirits. In 1920, she married F. Scott Fitzgerald after the popular success of his debut novel, This Side of Paradise. I've never read it. I still need to read Great Gatsby. The novel capitulated the young couple into the public eye, and she became known in the national press as the first American flapper. So she was the very first American flapper. That's crazy. Because of their wild antics and incessant partying, yeah, they were party animals, she and her husband became regarded in the newspapers as the enfants terribles of the jazz age. Alleged infidelity and bitter recriminations soon undermined their marriage. Oh, that sucks. and Zelda traveled abroad to Europe. Her mental health deteriorated, and she had suicidal and homicidal tendencies. Damn! So Zelda was nuts, which required psychiatric care. Her doctors diagnosed her with schizophrenia, although later posthumously diagnosed posit bipolar disorder. So she had bipolar disorder. Originally schizophrenia, which a lot of people don't know. Back in the day, and even sometimes today, schizophrenia is used as a catch-all term. Actually, speak of the devil, my brother Brandon, who I spoke about earlier, who used to read me the Zelda manuals like a storybook, he actually has schizophrenia. I used to be on schizophrenic medication, but I have MDD, But the schizomed worked on it, so it's a catch-all. But yeah, I just wanted to do an episode a Blue Pill episode on the origin of The Legend of Zelda, Zelda's name, and a little bit talking about F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda Fitzgerald. I hope this was interesting. I hope this was a fun Blue Pill episode, and like I said, if I'm off today, I'll put out more episodes. I know one thing, I'm going to run a couple errands and do some chores and shit. Yeah, love y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe, and y'all have an awesome day.